What's good? This is I'm a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude. Man who Wang, Dou-zhansheng-fo here with another rating, review, so on and so forth. Today we're going over highest to lowest. Highest to lowest stars the notable and beloved Denzel Washington. The only reason for watching this movie, which they know. This movie seems to be Spike Lee's rendition of an aging classic film of the same name, High and Low. The only difference being it's called High and Low, made by Akira Kurosawa, and how it's conflated with some of the plot of another literary work by the name of King's Novel by Ed McBain. The movie can be summed up as and from the point of view of a music exec played by Denzel Washington and his company that possibly may go under financially if the music exec in question, played by Denzel Washington, doesn't make something lucrative happen. This fellow is well off when we get our first look at him, and he has had prior success prior to the initial start point of the movie. King David, the main protagonist, essentially gets caught up in a ransomware deal where NY Rapper, as the company is based in New York City, and Felon, actually known as Young Felon, played by A$AP Rocky, kidnaps his son, or at least attempts to, but upon further research, really ends up kidnapping his son's best friend. His son's name is Kyle, which puts King David in a tough spot of having to decide whether or not to pay the initial ransom. He was contemplating paying for his son, but for his son's best friend, the ransom price is roughly $17.5 million. He's not really trying to pay that. Long story short, he ends up paying the ransom and gets it back due to no help of the New York City police, and Young Felon goes to jail, and King David decides to start his own independent label and sign an indie artist who his son has recommended since the beginning of the movie. That is, I would say, the entirety of the movie, basically. Some points of emphasis that stood out to me within the movie: when King lets the producer go. Extremely confused at this point. If the producer wasn't a convict type of character, I guess maybe that's cool, but you would think the producer was going to at least put up a fight against King David, or beat his ass to some degree, or come back with reinforcements. This is 2025 New York City. Secondly, the fact that the call couldn't be tracked, that was the initial ransom call of Young Felon calling, King David. When the movie is set is 2025 in New York City, the mecca of the country, and basically a police state, in a highly policed area, a highly surveilled area, is pretty unbelievable for a sum so large at stake, considering the sum being 17.5 million, considering what New York City police do for bullshit crimes with no real money attached to them. Yeah, I'm not believing that. That just doesn't make any sense to me. Especially considering the social status of, King David, playing a very affluent man with a very affluent position in New York City. Yeah, that just doesn't make sense. But the lines are very cheesy, non-impactful, and convey a very placid experience. In hindsight, I'm not impressed. The Black Panther of the Boogie Down Bronx, quote unquote, was absolute ass Joe Budden voice. It was terrible. Terrible. I hate that it was used in this movie. I believe they used it at least 2 times. And Black Panther isn't cool, hasn't been cool, and it's 2025. Currently, we're so removed from the inception of Black Panther and its impact. To use it in the present time, in the present tense, speaks to Spike Lee and Alan Fox's detachment from what's going on in society. Alan Fox is the person who wrote the screenplay. For the only part of the movie that gave me any bit of elation was when King David asks his friend, Kyle's father, don't remember his name, doesn't matter, he doesn't matter. When he asks his friend, what's that, quote unquote, alluding to the gun his friend pulls out as they're both sitting in the car about to try to like get the drop on young felon. And his friend's dad, Kyle's dad, retorts and says, this is insurance. This that Jake from State Farm. That was hilarious. That was funny. That was like, it gave the type of like chuckle, hee hee ha ha, like, oh, that was funny on like some American Dad type shit. That was funny. That's it though. That was quite literally the only funny or good part of the movie. Everything else was quite basic, streamlined, and just didn't matter. The movie is very placid in feeling in a third-party viewing pleasure perspective. It's shite. This movie is a bona fide 2004 Tubi movie. I can't even say present day Tubi movie, because I've heard from the grapevine that present day Tubi movies aren't bad. I mean, this movie is better than Gladiator 2. But this movie is quite long to be so mediocre. Like when you got a hard turd type of constipation and are on the toilet for 30 to 45 minutes waiting to expel said turd to no avail, and then it finally comes out. That's what this movie is. I'd give it a 3.2 out of 10. Denzel isn't bad in this movie, but he ain't good either. He just did his job. But if the job itself, being the script of this movie, is mediocre, and it is mediocre, there's nothing more he could have did. He just got his coins for doing this, similar to Gladiator 2. It was just a role. He just got his coins. Pretty sure he knew it was shit to begin with. And based off of that, it's debatable whether or not one could say Denzel's performance, like if he wasn't in the movie, this movie would be worse or not. But if we were to go down that rabbit hole, I would say that it would be considered worse, simply because, the general stigma associated with Denzel Washington. He's a pretty likable celebrity, and I feel like in general most people like his films or like when they see him in a film. So if it was anybody else, and this movie is basically a 3 out of 10, this movie would be worse, because I don't even feel like it's a 7. Granted, like, everything was very streamlined and this, that, and the third, but it's just not good. Like, I can't say that this is a feel-good movie. It doesn't feel good. It's work to watch. Like, nothing about this was good, unless you're just so on Denzel Washington's Frankfurter that, you just love everything he does and your opinion is biased. But aside from that, this movie is shite. Once again. Period. JT voice. In either instance, this has been Mei Huang, Dou-zhansheng-fo, here with another rating, review, talking point, so on and so forth. You know what it is. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm out.